At our family New Year's party, my mom pointed to the coat stand and said, "Your table's out there." My brother laughed. "Even the cat got a spot before you." I looked around. Every plate had a name. Everyone was smiling, except me. So I placed my gift, turned to him, and said, "Make sure you read what's under your plate." I watched New Year's Eve at the Patel estate always looked like a movie set. Glittering lights wrapped the banisters. Catered hors d'oeuvres floated around on silver trays. Guests in sequins and designer suits toasted with imported champagne. And there I was, Ravi Patel, wedged between a coat rack and the kitchen door with a flimsy plastic fork in my hand. My name's Ravi. I'm 32 years old. I live in Edison, New Jersey, and I work as a logistics coordinator for a national freight company. It's a stable job. Pays decent. Nothing flashy. And in this family, that means invisible. It didn't always feel like this. When we were kids, my brothers and I were thick as thieves. Arjun, the eldest, used to call me his co-pilot. Back when we'd build cardboard spaceships in the basement and plot our great escape to Mars. But things change. Somewhere between college degrees and curated Instagram lives, I got pushed to the edges. I walked into the house this year with a stack of carefully wrapped gifts. Thoughtful ones. Not just socks or a gift card. I spent weeks picking them out. For Arjun, a first edition book on entrepreneurship. For Mira, his fiancée, a signed coffee table photo book from a photographer she loved. For our parents, a framed map marked with all the road trips we ever took. I even paid extra to have it custom engraved. None of it mattered. "Ravi," Mom called out without even looking up from her phone. "Put your coat by the garage, please. We're out of space in the front closet." She gestured vaguely, already turning back to Mira. "Darling, you look like a movie star." I shuffled past the main hall, through crowds of relatives I barely recognized, until I found my spot. A standing table near the back, next to the line for the bathroom. Plastic plates. Plastic cutlery. A sad little stack of napkins with "Cheers to 2025" printed in fading gold ink. I looked around and saw it plain as day. Arjun and Mira were seated at the family table near the fireplace, framed like royalty. Mira in some glittering champagne dress, laughing politely. My younger brother Neil sat with his new girlfriend, both sipping cocktails and chatting with our cousins. And me? My chair was missing. There were no chairs. I caught a glimpse of Arjun across the room. He raised a glass in my direction, grinning. "Hey, Ravi, you okay over there? I think even the cat got a better seat than you." Laughter bubbled up from his table. My mother giggled into her wine glass. I forced a tight smile. Yeah, living the dream. But inside, something cracked. This wasn't just a one-time fluke. Every year, I'd noticed the slow shift. Being seated closer to the kitchen. Getting the short end of Secret Santa. People speaking over me during dinner. My role in this family had been downgraded from middle son to tolerated guest. I stood there, watching them laugh and drink, and I realized I wasn't part of this anymore. Not really. I was a formality. A face for the family photo. A warm body to fill the room, but not the heart of it. And this year, they didn't even bother hiding it. About a month before the party, Arjun had called me with one of his infamous quick favors. Said he needed a co-signer for a lease on the gym he was opening with Mira. I didn't say yes right away. I told him I had conditions. "You want a clause?" He'd laughed. "Yeah, a real one. Not just a promise you'll forget the next time you're tipsy and trying to impress someone." We met at a notary's office 2 days later. I had it in writing. If I was to sign that lease, it would come with mutual respect. Specifically, I added a section about no public disrespect at family events. It wasn't about needing validation. It was about having a boundary. A damn line. Arjun smirked when he signed it. "You always were the sensitive one." I shrugged. "And you always were the reckless one. That's why you need me to co-sign." Now, standing there by the coat rack with my plastic fork bending under a piece of cold samosa, I stared at that table full of smiles and selfies and remembered that damn clause. I took a deep breath and approached Mom first. She was fussing over a centerpiece that Mira had apparently made herself. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Just wondering, was there a mix-up with the seating? I'm over by the hallway." She barely looked up. "Oh, sweetheart, we just didn't have enough spots at the main table. You don't mind standing, do you? You're young." "I'm 32, Mom." She laughed like I'd made a joke. "Exactly." I turned to Arjun. He was refilling his glass, chatting with Uncle Suresh about the grand opening of the gym. "You see where they put me?" I asked. He looked over, squinting. "Dude, you're lucky. That spot's prime access to the kitchen. You can be the snack guy." He grinned. "And hey, don't be too mad. At least the family cat isn't sitting on your gift this year." Laughter again. This time from Mira. Even Neil chuckled, though he looked away when I met his eyes. I didn't respond. I just walked over to the tree and slid my gift under it. A small box wrapped in navy paper with a brass compass inside. Custom engraved. For the co-pilot. Always find your way back. It was the kind of thing only Arjun would understand. A callback to our childhood road trips, to when we used to sit in the backseat and chart imaginary maps while Dad drove us through upstate New York. Back then, he called me his co-pilot. Back when it still meant something. I walked back toward the hallway, passing by Arjun on my way. I leaned in close. "Check under your dinner plate," I murmured. "What?" "Just do it." Then I left. Didn't wait for dessert. Didn't say goodbye. Just grabbed my coat from the garage and stepped outside, the cold air stinging my face. In that moment, I felt no rage. No heartbreak. Just a clean, bitter clarity. The clause had been activated. I wasn't walking away from the family. I was walking away from a performance. One I had been forced to play in, year after year, without a script, without a mic, without a seat at the damn table. And I was done. I ended up at this 24-hour bookstore cafe I've been coming to since college. It's tucked between a used record shop and a shuttered laundromat, the kind of place where no one bothers you if you sit in the same booth for hours with a chai and a paperback. That night, I didn't even pretend to read. I just stared out the window, watching fat snowflakes swirl under a flickering streetlight. It was past midnight when the messages started. First was a missed call from Mom. Then another. Then a third. I didn't pick up. I didn't need to hear her voice to know what she'd say. The text came next. "Mom, Ravi, you embarrassed us. Everyone was talking. Your behavior was completely uncalled for. Dad, this is not how adults handle things. You could have just spoken to us privately. Arjun, real mature, bro. You sabotaged something I've worked months for. All because you didn't like where your table was? Grow up." I put my phone face down. 5 minutes later, it buzzed again. "Arjun, also, what was under my plate?" "Mira said it was legal crap." "What the hell did you do?" I didn't reply. Let him read the clause again. Let the weight of his own signature sink in. The only message that didn't make me clench my jaw came from Kavita, our cousin on Dad's side. We were close as kids. Drifted apart after college, but there was always a quiet understanding between us. "Kavita, you okay?" Just that. No judgment. No confusion. I typed back, getting there. "Appreciate you checking in." A few seconds later, a simple red heart emoji popped up on the screen. That should have been the end of it. But of course, it wasn't. An hour later, Kavita sent another message. "Kavita, weird question. Was your gift box supposed to be already opened?" I frowned. "No." "Why?" "Kavita, because someone found the box behind the tree, opened. The compass was there, but there was a torn note inside. Looked like it had your handwriting." I stared at the message for a long time, heart suddenly pounding. Torn? What did the note say? "Kavita," something like, "Maybe now you'll understand what being left out feels like." My stomach dropped. I hadn't written that. The only thing I included was a short card that said, "For the co-pilot, always find your way back." And it hadn't been torn. "Kavita, I didn't say anything. Just wanted to check with you first." But Neil looked weird when he saw it. Like, guilty weird. I leaned back in the booth, exhaling hard through my nose. Someone had gone through my gift. Not just gone through it, tampered with it. They'd made it look like I'd left a petty, bitter message instead of what it was, a quiet goodbye to a bond that used to matter. A farewell to the kid who used to call me his co-pilot. And whoever it was, they knew how to make it sting. I stared out the window again, the snow now thick on the sidewalk, and felt the full weight of what had just happened. They weren't just trying to ignore me anymore. Now, they were rewriting my story, painting me as the problem, the angry one, the petty one. And the worst part? Most of the family would probably believe it, but not Kavita, and not me. They wanted to spin a narrative. Fine. I had my own version to tell. The next morning, I woke up to a pounding headache and 30 unread messages. I didn't check them. I couldn't. My phone stayed face down on the kitchen counter while I made toast I didn't finish and drank lukewarm coffee that tasted like cardboard. It wasn't until late afternoon that I opened my email and saw her name at the top of my inbox. From Mira Sharma. Subject, "I owe you an apology." I almost didn't open it. I sat there for a full minute, just staring at her name. I expected defensiveness, excuses, a polished PR statement dressed up in sincerity. But when I finally clicked, I read it twice. "Ravi." I should have spoken up. "I'm sorry. What happened last night was awful, and you didn't deserve it." I didn't laugh. I didn't agree with any of it. But I didn't stop it either, and that's on me. I also didn't know about the co-sign agreement until after everything blew up. Arjun never mentioned it. When I found it under his plate, I was stunned. He told me you were just being dramatic about another holiday thing. That's how he put it. I should have asked more questions. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to hear it from me. You were right to walk away. Mira. No emojis. No hashtags. No follow-up links to her social media page. Just a clean, honest message. I sat there in silence, letting her words soak in. She hadn't tried to fix it. She hadn't said, but, or however. She just owned it. And weirdly, that hit harder than all the screaming from the night before. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Her words weren't a peace offering. They were confirmation. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. What happened to me wasn't subtle or unintentional. It was deliberate, repeated, and everyone in that house, except maybe Kavita, let it happen. Later that evening, I checked my mail and found the condo association's letter. Cold and impersonal. Application voided. Deposit forfeited. I reread that last part a few times, then folded the paper and set it aside. It was done. The gym Arjun and Mira were banking everything on. It was dead in the water. The lease was invalid without me, and the deposit, close to 20 grand, was gone. For a second, I waited for the guilt to hit. The part of me that always wanted to smooth things over. To avoid being the difficult one. The middle kid instinct to make peace at all costs. But nothing came. No pit in my stomach. No urge to apologize for making things worse. Just a strange, clean stillness. This wasn't revenge. It was consequence. For once in my life, I had drawn a line and held it. And it felt good. Clear. The next morning, I pulled out a manila folder from the back of my filing cabinet. It was old, edges curled, slightly faded, but it had my name on the front in my grandfather's handwriting. Inside was the trust agreement. When I was 16, Dadaji took me aside during a summer visit and told me I'd be the bridge in the family. He never explained what that meant, not exactly. But he had this look in his eye, like he saw something I didn't. That night, he handed me the trust documents and said, "Someday, this will matter more than you think." At the time, I didn't understand. But now it made perfect sense. Dadaji had established a family trust, a sizable one, with quarterly payouts for Arjun and me. I was named interim trustee until both of us turned 40. I'd been managing the paperwork quietly for years. Arjun got his share like clockwork and burned through it like Monopoly money. Last year alone, I'd watched him blow 5 grand on Myra's proposal ring, another 3 on a drone for wedding videos, and probably close to 10 on that ridiculous Love Cave vacation he booked in Tulum. Meanwhile, I used my share to finish paying off Mom and Dad's old mortgage. I never told anyone. It just felt like the right thing to do at the time. But now, I saw the full picture. The clause Dadaji included was clear. Disbursements may be paused or withheld in cases of gross misconduct or harm to family unity, as determined by the acting trustee. I'd never thought to use it. Never even really considered that I had power in this family. But reading those words now, in light of the last 48 hours, something shifted in me. I called Mr. Chaudhary, the family lawyer who still handled estate matters. "I want to exercise the trustee clause," I said. There was a long pause on the other end. "You're referring to the behavioral clause?" "Exactly. On what grounds?" I didn't hesitate. Public disrespect at a family gathering, breach of a notarized agreement, and systemic emotional negligence. Another pause. Then, "It's within your right. I'll send the paperwork this afternoon." By 3 p.m., it was signed. Arjun's next quarterly payout was frozen. No check, no deposit, just a formal letter from the trust's legal team explaining the hold and citing the clause. He'd get it in a day or two. I imagined the look on his face when he read it. The disbelief, the denial, the inevitable phone call, maybe even the lecture from Mom about how I was being vindictive. But none of that mattered now. Later that night, I sat on my balcony wrapped in a blanket, sipping ginger tea, the folder still open on my lap. I flipped to the last page, the one with Dadaji's signature. He had always been the only one who saw me without filters. No comparisons, no dismissals, just Ravi, the steady one. The one who remembered which uncle was allergic to pine nuts and who made sure the car had snow tires before every trip. And in his quiet, intentional way, he'd left me a tool, a safeguard, not just to hold money, but to hold the line. I looked up at the stars and whispered, "Thanks, Dadaji." Because even though he was long gone, he'd left me with exactly what I needed. Not just leverage, but clarity. I wasn't just some forgettable middle child. I was the one holding the keys now. It was nearly midnight when my phone rang. At first, I thought it was another junk call. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me check. Dad lit up the screen. I hesitated, thumb hovering over decline. He hadn't reached out since the party, not directly. I figured he'd stayed neutral, like always, just waiting for the dust to settle. But something about the timing. I picked up. "Ravi." His voice was low, not sharp, not angry, just tired. "Yeah." Silence stretched for a moment, filled only by the faint hum of the heating system in my apartment. "I didn't want to call," he said finally. "Your mother's been a mess since you left. Arjun's furious. Mira won't even talk to anyone. And your brother, you got that letter from the trust lawyer today." I said nothing, just waited. "I don't know what to do," he said. There it was. Not an accusation, not a plea, just uncertainty folded into years of practiced silence. "Fix this," he said next, and I could hear it under the words. The desperation. The guilt trying to dress itself up as reason. Please. I leaned back on the couch, staring at the ceiling. My hands were steady. My chest didn't tighten like it usually did when we talked. I didn't do any of this to hurt anyone, I said, calmly. I asked for one thing. Just one. It was a party, Ravi. No, I said. It wasn't just a party. It was years of being brushed aside, ignored, treated like an extra in my own family. That seating arrangement? That was the final beat in a long, ugly song. He didn't argue. I signed the lease for Arjun's gym under one condition, I continued. Respect. Equal footing. Not a throne, not special treatment, just not being the family joke. And even with a signed document, he couldn't do that. None of you could. A soft exhale from his side of the call. I didn't see it, he admitted. Not until now. I thought, you were fine. You always seemed fine. I had to be fine, I said. You all needed me to be fine. But I wasn't. Not for a long time. He was quiet again. I can't undo what I did, I added. But I also won't pretend it didn't happen. That party was just a symptom. The real problem started long before. I understand, he said, finally. 3 words. Quiet. Unpolished. But honest. For the first time in a very long time, he wasn't defending anyone. Not my mother. Not Arjun. Not even himself. Just listening. I'm not angry, I said. Not anymore. But I'm not coming back, not like before. Things have to change. Another pause. I know, he said. I think maybe it's time I changed too. We didn't end the call with a solution. There were no promises or emotional breakthroughs. Just a moment of recognition between a father and a son who had spent too long pretending everything was fine. And for once, that was enough. The first time I heard about the crowdfunding campaign, I thought it was a joke. Kavita sent me the link. No context. Just a message that said, you might want to see this. The headline was dramatic, in all caps. Help save our family dream. Small business under attack. There was a photo of Arjun and Mira smiling in front of the gym's yet-to-be-opened storefront, arms wrapped around each other like a motivational poster. The description underneath told a very different story than the one I knew. Due to an unexpected act of betrayal by a family member, our lease and funding were pulled at the last minute. We're devastated. This was supposed to be our future, a community space, a dream built on love and hard work. If you believe in small businesses and second chances, please help us recover what was taken from us. Then came the kicker. They used my full name. Not a family member. Not a relative. Ravi Patel. As if the audience needed someone to blame. As if putting my name in bold justified the thousands they were now asking strangers to give them. The comments were already piling up. Wow, can't believe your own brother would sabotage you. Donated. Hope you bounce back stronger. This is what jealousy does. SMH. I closed the tab. And then I opened a new one. I drafted a post. No caps. No exclamation points. No begging. Just facts. Since many of you are now hearing only one side of a situation that has deeply affected my family, I want to clarify a few things. I co-signed a lease for my brother's gym under the condition of mutual respect, a term we both agreed on in writing. That condition was broken in a very public and deliberate way. I activated a clause that both parties signed, understanding there would be consequences. It was not sabotage. It was accountability. I asked that the GoFundMe campaign using my name be taken down immediately. I will be pursuing further action if it remains live. Thank you. I didn't tag them. I didn't drop screenshots. But within 24 hours, my post had over 400 shares, dozens of comments, messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. Priya D. Wow. Just read everything. I always knew you were the quiet one, but not the weak one. Amit R. Good on you, man. Family doesn't mean being a doormat. Aunt Leela even messaged me privately. I had no idea what was happening. Your post, it opened my eyes. I'm sorry. Mira quietly took down the fundraiser the next morning. No apology. No clarification. Just gone. Like it had never existed. Arjun, of course, didn't go quietly. He posted a vague story on Instagram about backstabbers in the family and how some people will do anything to feel important. I didn't respond. Let people believe what they want. I'd said my piece. Later that evening, I got a message from Neil. Short and unexpected. Neil, I saw the post. I laughed at that party, and I shouldn't have. I'm sorry, man. I stared at it for a while. Maybe it wasn't everything, but it was something. For the first time in my life, I wasn't playing defense. I wasn't staying quiet to keep the peace or taking punches so someone else could look like a hero. I told the truth, and people listened. The story Arjun tried to write about me fell apart under its own weight. Turns out, curated appearances don't hold up when you finally shine a light on them. And I wasn't stepping back into the shadows. Not this time. 3 days after the fundraiser disappeared, Mira called me. I let it go to voicemail. An hour later, she called again. Then she texted. Mira, Ravi, Can we talk? It's not about Arjun. It's about me. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the reply button. I wasn't sure what she wanted or if I wanted to hear it, but something in that message sounded different. No gloss. No performance. I called her back. She answered on the first ring. Hi, she said, voice thin. Tired. Hey. I left him, she said immediately. I moved in with my sister yesterday. Silence stretched between us. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't expecting it. Not really. I'm sorry, she added. I should have said it sooner. Should have stood up sooner. I sat down on the edge of my bed. What happened? A lot, she said quietly. But the short version? He lied about everything. About you. About the agreement. About the lease. She exhaled, shaky. In the way he handled the fundraiser, that was the last straw. I asked him to take it down. He refused. Said it was damage control. That people needed someone to blame. I didn't say anything. He told me you were bitter. That you were always jealous. That you made up the clause to ruin his chances. But then I read the paperwork. All of it. And your post. And I realized he wasn't just bending the truth. He was rewriting it. Another pause. You've been the only person in that family who's treated me like a human being. Not an accessory. Not a crown jewel. Just a person. I rubbed the back of my neck. Her voice didn't sound like the Mira I was used to. It didn't sound curated. It sounded like someone who'd had the rug pulled out and was finally seeing the floor for what it was. I don't hate him, she continued. But I don't trust him. And I can't marry someone who spends more energy protecting his ego than facing the truth. I swallowed hard. I'm sorry. She let out a bitter laugh. Don't be. If anything, I should thank you. You showed me who he really is, and who I've been pretending not to see. I didn't respond right away. There wasn't much to say. I know I was part of it, she added. The dinners. The laughter. The silence. I saw it happen to you, and I didn't say a word. You're saying something now, I said. She exhaled again. I hope this isn't the last time we talk. It doesn't have to be. Okay, she said softly. Okay. We hung up not on a dramatic note, not with some grand gesture or emotional promise, just mutual understanding. Mira had left her June. The wedding was off. And for the first time in years, the image my family worked so hard to project had cracked wide open. All that was left behind, it was the truth. And the quiet peace of being believed. New Year's Eve came around again, but this time I wasn't standing near a coat rack or holding a plastic fork. I wasn't at the Patel estate, wearing a fake smile or watching everyone else toast to another year of pretending. I was home. My apartment smelled like cumin and garlic. Kavita had insisted on cooking. She showed up with grocery bags and refused to let me touch a thing. Said I'd done enough heavy lifting for 1 year. You're on chair duty, she declared, pointing to the folding seats I hadn't used in years. And vibes. That's it. We had a small crowd. Just Kavita, her fiancé Jay, my college friend Dev, and a neighbor I'd met in the laundry room 2 weeks earlier named Rosa who brought homemade tres leches and zero small talk. The food was simple: chaat, biryani, lentil soup, warm naan that steamed the windows. We ate on mismatched plates. Drank ginger soda out of coffee mugs. Laughed like we didn't owe anyone explanations. At one point, I slipped into my bedroom and pulled out a small box from my dresser. The same navy paper. The same brass compass. The one I'd taken back after Mira told me about the forged note. I'd had it restored, the engravings repolished, the hinge fixed, the glass wiped clean. When I walked back into the living room, Kavita looked up from the couch, eyebrows raised. I handed it to her. She opened it slowly, gently like it might still bite. For the co-pilot, she read aloud. Always find your way back. Her eyes flicked to mine. I figured, I said, clearing my throat. It's not mine to carry anymore. She didn't smile right away. Just held it in her hands, running a thumb over the edge. Maybe, she said finally, the memory it represented was never as real as we thought. I nodded. Yeah, but it still meant something. Back then. She closed the lid, softly. Back then, a lot of things did. We didn't dwell on it. We didn't have to. The night moved on with card games and music from someone's half-dead Bluetooth speaker. No champagne, just Kavita's spiced apple cider and chipped mugs we kept refilling. At midnight, we didn't count down. Someone noticed the time only after the fireworks outside started popping through the window. We raised our drinks anyway, clinking whatever we had, and toasted to what none of us had the words for, but all of us understood. After everyone left, I cracked my window and let the winter air fill the room. Cold. Sharp. Honest. No voices. No guilt. No roles to perform. Just me. And silence. And for the first time in a very long time, that silence didn't feel like rejection. It felt like peace. And peace, I realized, was the loudest victory of all.